In 219 BC, Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of a unified China, left his capital and went on a road trip. History says he was looking for the elixir of life, that he was obsessed with not dying, that he spent his final years chasing potions and listening to frauds. For 2,000 years, that has been the story. But here is what that story leaves out. On that road trip, the most powerful man in the world went to the graves of rulers he had never met and knelt before them. He knelt before the ancestors of the people he had just conquered. Think about that for a second. The man who destroyed 6 nations went to pay his respects at their founders' tombs. That is not the behavior of a man chasing the elixir of life. So what was he actually doing? And why has history been lying about it for 2,000 years? Let's look at the root. Not what the history books say he was doing, what he physically went to, and what he did when he got there. First stop, the tomb of Emperor Yao and Emperor Xuan, 2 of the most revered rulers in Chinese mythology. From the old territories of Chu, one of the states he had just destroyed. Second stop, the tomb of Yu the Great, the legendary ruler who saved China from floods, located in the former territory of Yu, another conquered state. Third stop, Mount Tai, the most sacred mountain in Chinese civilization, heartland of the old Eastern kingdoms. At every single stop, he performed rituals, he made offerings, he climbed the mountain in the rain. He declared himself the legitimate heir to all of Chinese civilization, not just the Qin part of it. Now ask yourself, why would a man who just won a war go out of his way to honor the ancestors of the people he defeated? The answer is not mysticism. The answer is politics. He had a problem, a serious one. In 221 BC, Qin Shi Huang unified China. That is the headline. Here is what comes after the headline. He had just forced 6 nations, with hundreds of years of separate history, separate culture, and separate identity, into a single country overnight. And the Qin, his people, were the ones everyone else looked down on. To the educated classes of the old Eastern kingdoms, the Qin were frontier people, outsiders. They spoke with an accent. They had different customs. They had risen fast and conquered hard, and had absolutely no cultural prestige to show for it. Think about what that means for the man running the empire. He can standardize the currency. He can standardize the writing system. He can build roads that connect every corner of the country. But he cannot pass a law that makes people respect him. Legitimacy is not something you can legislate. You have to earn it. And the only language everyone understood, from Qi to Chu to Yang, was the language of ancestors, sacred mountains, ancient graves, ritual. So he went. He knelt. He performed every ritual that every conquered culture recognized as legitimate. He said, without words, your past is my past. Your ancestors are my ancestors. I am not erasing you. I am inheriting you. So where did the immortality story come from? From the people who hated him. The old aristocratic families of the 6 kingdoms had lost everything. Their land, their titles, their entire reason for existing. Many of them had been forcibly relocated to the capital. And they were waiting for the empire to fail, wanting it to fail. A meteorite fell somewhere near the Yellow River. Someone carved words into it. The first emperor will die, and the land will be divided. There were whispers at court. A piece of jade, supposedly thrown into a river years earlier, reappeared in the hands of a stranger, who said, "The ancestral dragon will die this year." These were not prophecies. These were propaganda, circulated by people who desperately wanted the empire to collapse. And here is the thing about rumors. They only spread when people want to believe them. When a population is already looking for signs of weakness, everything gets reinterpreted. A tour to sacred sites becomes a desperate search for magic. A consultation with scholars becomes manipulation by frauds. A man working himself to death becomes a tyrant enjoying his power. 2,000 years later, that reinterpretation is still the official story. Qin Shi Huang did make mistakes. Real ones. He was deceived by alchemists. He chose the wrong sacred mountain. He ran out of time. But look at what he was actually doing versus what history said he was doing. History said, a paranoid man, running from death, chasing the elixir of life. The evidence says, a clear-eyed ruler, who understood his empire's deepest weakness, and spent his last years trying to fix it, the only way anyone could. He wasn't running from mortality, racing against time. He was right that the empire was fragile. He was right that 11 years wasn't enough to turn 6 bitter nations into one people. He was right that without something deeper than laws and roads, the whole thing could collapse. He was right about all of it. And then he died. And 15 years later, it did. The next episode is about what happened in the 3 days after his death. A conspiracy so perfectly executed that historians are still arguing about how anyone found out. Subscribe if you want to see how it ends.